A peckish prologue. Meet the Chicken Nugget Bandit. Let's get one thing straight. The Chicken Nugget Bandit loves two things. You guessed it, chicken nuggets and, well, borrowing money from financial institutions. Not your typical villain, eh? Picture this. A lanky bloke, mid-20s, sporting a tweed jacket that's seen better days. He answers to the name Nigel, but the tabloids, they dubbed him the Chicken Nugget Bandit. Why? Every bank he visited, he'd leave a trail of, you guessed it, chicken nuggets. Some call it his calling card, others a cry for help. Me? I reckon it's just Nigel being Nigel. Word on the street is he does it for the love of the crunch, the sheer audacity of it all. But beneath that nugget-loving exterior, there's a cunning mind plotting its next heist. The clock strikes 10 a.m, Big Ben's bongs echoing across London. Tourists snapped photos, pigeons scattered, and Nigel, our nugget-loving protagonist, adjusted his scarf. Today's target, the grand, imposing Royal Bank of Sterling, its marble facade practically screaming, "Come, rob me." Nigel, however, preferred a more subtle approach. He waltzed in, a to-go box of nuggets in hand, the aroma of greasy goodness filling the sterile air. Tellers looked up, confused. Security guards chuckled. Little did they know, the Chicken Nugget Bandit was about to turn their world upside down. "Good morning, chaps," Nigel chirped, his voice dripping with politeness. He approached a teller, his hand nonchalantly in his pocket. "Dreadfully sorry to bother, but I seem to have misplaced my, deposit slip." The teller, a young lad named Kevin, blinked. Clearly he hadn't been trained for this. "Deposit slip, sir? For what amount?" he stammered, thoroughly bewildered by the wafting scent of chicken. "Oh, just a king's ransom. You know how it is," Nigel quipped, brandishing a note scribbled on a napkin. "Now, if you'd be a dear and fill these bags, I'd be terribly grateful. And do hurry, these nuggets aren't getting any warmer." Section 4, Red Phone Booth Rendezvous, a getaway for you. Chaos, utter, beautiful chaos. That's what ensued. People screamed, alarms blared, and Kevin, bless his soul, fainted dead away. Nigel, ever the gentleman, propped him up against a potted plant. With a wink and a cheery pip-pip, he was out the door, a trail of dropped nuggets marking his escape route. A red phone booth stood across the street, its iconic silhouette practically glowing under the midday sun. His getaway vehicle? Please. This was Nigel, master of disguise, connoisseur of all things fried and breaded. He simply strolled into the booth as a confused tourist exited, whistling a jaunty tune. Section 5, Scotland Yard's finest hour, Nugget Bandit's sour, news of the chicken nugget. Bandit's latest escapade spread faster than butter on a crumpet. The police were baffled. The public, they bloody loved it. Every news channel had his face plastered across their screens, the headlines practically writing themselves. "Nugget Bandit strikes again," screamed the Sun. "Has anyone seen this man and his nuggets?" questioned the Guardian, ever the intellectuals. Meanwhile, at a local chippy, Nigel enjoyed his spoils, a mountain of fish and chips, and naturally, a jumbo box of chicken nuggets. He chuckled, reading the news. Scotland Yard's finest, stumped by a few crumbs. "Pathetic," he mumbled between bites. Section 6, The Twist, a feathery finale. Meticulously planned heists require meticulous planning. Nigel, for all his nugget-loving charm, was a stickler for detail, which is why it was no surprise when a voice interrupted his culinary victory. "Excuse me, sir, but this is a no-smoking zone." Nigel looked up mid-nugget. Standing before him was Brenda, his landlady. Brenda, notorious for her hatred of smoking and sniffing out unpaid rent. Brenda had a very particular set of skills. Skills that made her a nightmare for people like Nigel. "Brenda? What a delightful surprise," he stammered. Brenda smiled, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "Now, about that overdue rent." The jig was up. The Chicken Nugget Bandit, foiled by a landlady with a nose for justice.